Hey everyone, it's your favorite political innovator here, David Washington, with another brand new episode of the David Washington Show. It has been a while because it has been very, very busy. This election cycle has started very, very early for me and the rest of the team at J. Washington. It's like the election cycle never really ended since 2016 for us. So I'm very happy about that. And I'm very proud of my team and everything that they've been able to accomplish. I'm very proud of the fact that we're crafting our strategies going into the primaries and, of course, the general election. And, very happy about our growing portfolio of clientele. Speaking of portfolio of political candidates, let's just jump right into it. It's so busy, and everyone, there's so much going on in our world right now that, a shout out to the Trump administration. So much is going on. Not a day passes that, there is something for us to sit, to think about, to analyze, and discuss. And I like that. I mean, really, regardless of whether I fall or we fall on one side of a particular issue or another, I like the fact that this administration is keeping us on our toes. And there are times where I've taken a particular issue and prepared a podcast episode on that specific issue, particularly, of course, what's happening in the federal government and international politics, and create that content and just let it sit because it's so exciting to me that things are evolving. Policy, the politics of the policy is evolving. And what I see in the failure of legacy media, New York Times are calling you guys out, is that they'll take an issue, and the bias to me is very clear on how they report that particular issue, particularly if it's the Trump administration. And they just put it out there, they put their bias spin on it, and it just sits. And of course, they have to, maintain some consistency, and so that bias continues in further subsequent reporting. What I like to do is professionally, if a new story pops, like the US Iran war, I like for the news to come. And we're not that, oh my God, um, you know, here's breaking news. We'll do that on our blog, but a podcast, not necessarily, unless it's the end of the world. But with that breaking news stuff, there's always elements that need to be discussed. More information to come out to discuss. And so I like to do is just let the story plays out a little bit more so that we get more information and we're able to make a qualified opinion based on the facts that we know of that particular situation. So I would, professionally sit on a story for 2, 4 days, maybe, and gather that evidence and say, something, it may have been put out by legacy media with certain spin on this day. However, I have the luxury of coming to our audience and providing additional context and facts so that you have as much of a complete story as possible, sans the bias, right? I start my day with the New York Times, particularly, specifically, their podcast, the headlines in the daily. And I usually end my day with Promethean updates on YouTube, and then everything in between. Everything in between. I listen to about maybe 5 to 8 podcast episodes a day. I'll read maybe upwards of 7 articles per day. I go through my X feed to find out what's going on currently and stay aware of any updated information. And of course, I do a lot of research on behalf of the JNW network and also on behalf of our clientele portfolio. That's a lot that's going on. I love it. And I do that and take my time to provide the information that our audience needs to hear with the facts to back up the conversation. And I pride myself on letting excuse me, let me get a sip of coffee. I pride myself on letting our audience know that we have a great deal of integrity. We want that respectful, tactful conversation with you all, and the truth matters, and being honest matters. We've been interviewing new associates over the last day or so, and that's one thing I want the young people to know is that, hey, the truth does matter. Integrity does matter in this world. Politics can be a blood sport. I've always said that. However, you can take the higher ground and not have to fall into the pit of nonsense journalism, nonsense media, garbage that you see on different platforms. And there are some stories like, for instance, I kind of shake my hands like, is this newsworthy? But it is concerning our local community here in Orange County. Our current clerk of the courts, Orange County courts, Tiffany Moore Russell, who is a candidate for Orange County mayor, and she is also the Southeast regional, United States regional director of the Alpha Kappa Alphas, the AKAs, and they recently had their conference here in Orlando, and unfortunately, there was some scandal that is still playing itself out during the conference Friday night recently. There was a concert featuring Uncle Luke. I remember Uncle Luke from, Two Live Crew and Trick Daddy. Not familiar with his work, but from what I read and what I saw, it's salacious. And my understanding, and thank you to Pink Book Lessons and also the Crimson Cure, both online on YouTube. Thank you for your analysis. It helped me understand what the situation is. Uh, Specifically with Trick Daddy, he had a show that was, characterized as, provocative, and they shut it down. And Trick Daddy's like, yo, I'm Trick Daddy. You know my discography. You know my music. You know what I do. Why you shut me down? And of course, Tiffany Moore Russell, being the director of the show, had to make a statement and saying that what was displayed and what was said during that concert for the AKAs was showed. The video I saw showed a lot of the sorority sisters really, getting his vibe. They were really into the show. And yes, I did see some of the sisters walk out. However, what I saw was a lot of ladies enjoying the show. However, it was a bad scene. I mean, really, it was a bad scene for the AKAs, given their history and what they're known for. And I'm thinking to myself, and hopefully, uh, Madam Clerk should make a public appearance. And I'm making a big deal about this because she is campaigning for Orange County mayor. And you would think that there's some communication between the campaign and the clerk, who is the regional director, that there would have been some coordination in regards to what the hell is happening or what the hell is going to happen at this conference and how it could affect the campaign. Uh, I understand the AKA and her leadership in the AKAs is very important to the Madam Clerk. However, she's also running for mayor. And what you do in all aspects of your life reflect on your campaign and vice versa. So, given any event or conference, whatever, being the director, you do know who's performing. You do know what meal is being served on what given day. You do know what the agenda is going to be. So I think that it wasn't necessarily the music of Uncle Luke or JT or Trick that was the issue. It is the hypocrisy of shutting down the show. Maybe one or two people or a group of ladies thought it was inappropriate at the time. However, I'm sure, Trick's name was on the agenda for the night. That it was, people were well aware that Trick Daddy was going to perform, that it was announced prior to the conference, and people going to and confirming their attendance at the conference was going to, were aware that, Trick was performing. It sure did look like a lot of the ladies were prepared for it. So, what I'm saying essentially is that, you know, screw ups like that, and that's what it was. Screw ups like that are easily avoided when, from a campaign management political advisor point of view, those situations are easily avoided when you think of the larger audience beyond the people at the conference. Because everything you do as a candidate is going to be magnified in the public space. And it will be a reflection on how you, the candidate, would perform as an elected in that particular role. And also, as an elected, how do you take ownership of your own actions? And so I know a lot about this particular race for mayor, about the candidates, probably more than what I should, or if I was a mere, citizen. Um, and a caveat to voters in situations like this: this doesn't happen in a void. This type of decision making and taking ownership of your decisions is documented, is already put in the works, already established. And this particular situation is only an example of past actions in decision making and taking responsibility for your actions. There's a whole lot of other issues I want to, talk about. This one came to mind because, man, my phone was burning up the last maybe 48 hours, and then, looking at my YouTube feed and seeing this, reach certain YouTubers that I follow, who I respect. Like I said, Pink Book Lessons and the Christian Cure, and I have a great deal of respect for their voices. And it's just one of those moments where I was shaking my head, saying, this is something that was easily avoided, could have been avoided. And unfortunately, this is something that candidate Tiffany Moore Russell has to deal with and navigate, and hopefully, it doesn't reflect too harshly on her campaign. However, it's something to take into consideration as voters when they do decide to vote in the August election for Orange County Mayor. So, on that note, there's so many other things I want to talk about, but this one just, oh man, it just stuck in my head because there's been several conversations I've had with several people about what happened, and just my professional opinion. So, on that note, there's so much, you Democrats, you Republicans, I got a lot of smoke for you guys. And we'll get to it. One show, one episode at a time. In the meantime, again, if you enjoy what like what you see, please do not hesitate to like, share, hit the notification button for all the right reasons. And of course, if there are family members, friends, influencers in the wild, um, maybe candidates, hint, hint, Tiffany, or elected officials who you think would benefit from this type of content, please let them know about the David Washington Show. Also, let them know about From the Margins with Jimmy Afant, the Fernandez Legacy, Countertop Politics, Ground Zero Florida, which I need to do another episode. And that most likely will be about the special session in the Florida legislature and the budget and also redistricting hopes for Florida. Regardless, please tune in, don't tune out, participate in your civic responsibility to engage with your elected officials, with those candidates who are wanting to represent your kitchen table issues. I'm David Washington. God bless. I love you. We'll see you the next time. This is the David Washington Show.